Mr. Manager, you ready? Good evening. I would like to call the City of Henderson Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Champion,
Present.
Ms. Amina, present. Noel. Mr. Seifert,
Here.
Mr. Venable,
Here.
Mr. Gacy,
Here.
Ms. Gill,
Here.
Ms. Walker.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Miss Reverend Catherine Keel, would you lead us in a word of prayer and invocation for our pledge of allegiance, please?
Let us pray. Father God, it's in the matchless name of Jesus the Christ that we say thank you, God, for this day. Father, we thank you for the opportunity of gathering together, God, to do your will, Lord. Father, we ask and pray that you will touch every house that's represented here tonight, God. God, lead us in the way that we should go, God. Father, help us to remember, God, that we are here for a purpose, God, to do your will, God. Father, to protect your citizens, God. Father, we ask right now that you go before us in this meeting, God, that we will do what's pleasing unto you, God. Father, let us not do anything in vain glory, God, but let us do all to the upbuilding of your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gill. Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome you to our first City Council meeting of the year, and Happy New Year to everyone that's in attendance. This is your city, and we are grateful that you all are here to take part in our meeting. We have a couple of items on the agenda, Council, at your pleasure, that we need to take off. Development Services Director Corey Williams will not be in attendance tonight. And then we need to add stormwater presentation and the proclamation for National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Council, how would you like to proceed with the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda with the additions and the one item to be removed.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Noel and seconded by Councilmember Venable. Madam Clerk. Consensus. Do we have a consensus, Council?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we'll move forward to the consent agenda. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Second. Have a consensus? Your call roll. Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Ms. Amina, yes. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Seifert,
Yes.
Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Gacy,
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes. And the motion is passed. Thank you, Council. We'll move forward to our presentations and recognitions. And the first group that we have up are the 8U Gate City Seahawks. Can we give them a hand clap for making it to the state of North Carolina? Mr. Kendrick.
We had our banquet last night and we were in a full swing of basketball. We had 13 games on Saturday starting at 9 o'clock. So they probably have practice right now because it was very competitive this weekend, but we do appreciate it.
It's over 1,091 people. Okay, thank
You got it. Right. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
so much. Thank you all.
again.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Did you call?
My car. My credit card.
Okay, next up, we have 0 to 60 Motorcycle Club. Can you ladies please come forward, and gentlemen, if you're here? Thank you all for coming out. So 0 to 60 Motorcycle Club, they do a lot in our community, and we would be remiss not to thank them for all the work that they do. They do Eddie Mack Foundation. They support local schools with supplies and events. They assist local college students who need help with college expenses. They do Christmas angel tree partnerships, collaborating with Vance County and Warren County Social Services. They select a child from each county and provide a portion of their Christmas. They feed the community, and they partner with the Pride of Elks Vance Lodge for their annual community feeding event. They also give donations to the Duke Cancer Center. They contribute every February, purchasing a heart for their window in memory of the founder's mother. Back to school drives, they do them all over the state. And on holidays, they do church partnerships, and they work with various churches during the holidays to assist with feeding the community and the community needs. So we just wanted to say, as a council and a body governing board on tonight, thank you for making our community a better place to live.
Can I use a t-shirt like that?
Not to mention, you all drive some of the best motorcycles and spiders
And slingshot.
and slingshots around safely, yes.
Moving along. Last but certainly not least, we are going to honor Mr. Joseph Calvin Brody. Ms. Thornton, can you please come forward? Mr. Brody transitioned, and he transitioned to heaven. He did great works in our community, but we wanted to do a certificate of recognition, and I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem can speak to this much better than I can because she works side by side with him. And so I'm just going to read this, and Mayor Pro Tem, will you please give the remarks for Mr. Joseph Brody?
And actually, Mayor Pro Tem, no one has worked closer with Joseph than the great Miss Angie Thornton in both Carolina United for Change, Vance County Democratic Party, in which she's chair and he was second chair, and just a host of other things involving senior citizens, Boy Scouts, and veterans. So I'll be pleased that if she would give us that honor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Certificate of recognition. Whereas Joseph Calvin Brody Jr., the son of Joseph Calvin Brody Sr. and Maddie Johnson Brightheart, was born on December 27th, 1957 in Mount Vernon, New York. He was a faithful and devoted member of Shiloh Baptist Church throughout his life. He graduated from Vance Senior High School in 1967, later pursuing higher education and earning a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from North Carolina Central University. In 1976, Joseph Brody joined the United States Army, serving with distinction as a private first class, fulfilling roles as a heavy anti-armor weapons crewman and infantryman, and receiving specialized training in jungle warfare, and non-commissioned office leadership, which I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem can expound on. His military service was recognized with numerous honors, including the Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Ribbon, Good Conduct Model, Sharpshooter, and a Marksman. Joseph was dedicated to uplifting and serving the community and served as the founder and president of Carolina United for Change, a nonprofit organization, and as a Boy Scout master. Joseph was a proud and devoted family man, preceded in death by his son Javon Steed, and is survived by his beloved wife Marcy Ann Brody and children Keontae and Kenzie. His legacy of service, leadership, and love for his community will continue to inspire all who knew him. Now, therefore, I, Melissa Elliott, the mayor of the city of Henderson, North Carolina, do hereby extend this certificate of recognition to honor the legacy and life of Joseph Calvin Brody Jr.
I just wanted to say on behalf of Joe's children, his wife, his volunteers, his scouts, his dedicated service in the community and veterans. We've worked together over 20 years. I humbly accept this on behalf of his family who could not be here, and we should all aspire to be like Joe.
Okay, thank you all so much, Council. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to say something?
Oh, no.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna move right into proclamations. We only had two for the month of January. And then we'll move forward our agenda. On January the 9th, it was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Can we give our HPD a hand clap? National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, LED, is observed annually on January the 9th to honor the dedicated men and women who serve our communities as law enforcement professionals at the local, state, tribal, and federal levels. Law enforcement officers uphold the rule of the law, protect life and property, respond to emergencies, and serve as first responders in moments of crisis, often at great personal risk, demonstrating courage and an unwavering commitment to public safety. Officers and civilian staff work tirelessly around the clock, frequently sacrificing time with family and loved ones. We recognize the importance of our officer wellness, encompassing mental health support, peer assistance, training, and resources to sustain the well-being of those who protect and serve. We extend heartfelt thanks to the officers, deputies, troopers, agents, dispatchers, analysts, detention personnel, and civilian team members whose service reflects the highest ideals of public service. I, Melissa Elliott, the mayor of the city of Henderson, now do hereby proclaim January 9th, 2026 as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
Wow.
Okay. Flag proclamation. So January is also known for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Thank you, Mr. Joey Fuqua, for turning the blue lights downtown for us. That is the color for human trafficking, blue. Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Human trafficking is a heinous crime and a grave violation of human rights that involve the exploitation of individuals for labor, services, or commercial sex through force, fraud, and coercion. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, an estimated 27.6 million people worldwide are victims of human trafficking, with cases reported in every state in the United States, including our own communities. This crime often goes undetected due to its isolating nature, lack of awareness, and misunderstanding of its indicators, making education and vigilance essential to prevention and intervention. Every individual, family, business, faith community, and organization can play a role in prevention by learning the signs, reporting suspicious activity, supporting survivors, and promoting safe environments. Whereas January is nationally recognized as Human Traffic Awareness Month and prevention, providing an opportunity for education, outreach, and action to protect the most vulnerable among us. Now therefore, I, Melissa Elliott, the mayor of the city of Henderson, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Now we will have our own Christy Liscombe with a stormwater presentation. Can y'all give her a hand clap?
Luckily for y'all, I will not be doing the presentation. But we do have our consultant, Susan, if you and Karen will come up. They are gonna run through the presentation for you. My group in the back, Logan, Ian. They worked heavily with Gradient Engineering to do our inventory of our stormwater system, which had never been done before. So, we found all kinds of things, and I'm gonna let Susan and them tell you all about it.
So, can you guys hear me without it?
That.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, city staff, and the members of the community. I am here on behalf of Gradient to present our, an overview of the stormwater management program for the city of Henderson. And, I'll do that, by giving a higher level overview. I definitely added a little bit more detailed slides, so if the board just let me know and I'll fly through it faster. And then we'll touch on a few current projects that the city is doing right now for stormwater management. So first of all, we'll discuss why the program exists and so forth. So next slide, please. So this is just the organizational chart for the city. And as you can see, the department sits under Christy, who's also the assistant city manager, but also the director of engineering. And the work is performed with the engineering department as well as the public works department. And I think Lee is here as well. So they both work together hand in hand to make this happen. Next slide, please. So just looking at the granular on who's actually involved in day-to-day operations. Ian and Logan, as Christy mentioned, from the engineering department are here, and then Dale also works with them. Next slide, please. So some general information about the city. The population is about 15,000 plus or minus. And the jurisdictional area is about 8.6 square miles. And the city is located on the two major watersheds in the state of North Carolina. One of them is the Tarpon River Basin, and the other one is the Roanoke River Basin. And the creeks here that are listed fall in each of those watersheds. With one in Roanoke River Basin, the Nutbush Creek is actually impaired, which means it's listed on the state's 303D list for some water quality impairments. And then because of these regulations, the federal government has a permit under the Clean Water Act called the NPDES permit, and the state of North Carolina then delegates the cities to implement that permit. Next slide, please. So what is an NPDES MS4 permit? The NPDES stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. And MS4 is the Municipal Septic Storm Sewer System, which means the drainage system only carries the rainwater. It does not carry sewer.
cities like Baltimore and Charleston is where we see combined sewer, CSOs, where you have sewer and rainwater in the same system. In North Carolina, we do not have those. So it's an MS4 system. Our permit operates on a 5-year term. And the latest renewal was in 2024, and that runs through the end of December of 2028 is the implementation cycle. So right now we're in permit year 3. And each year, we have to do an annual report as a measure of how the permit is being implemented. And it's measured based on 6 minimum control measures that the city should implement. Next slide, please. So again, like I said, the purpose of the stormwater management program is to implement the NPDES MS4 permit. And then also monitor all of your rainwater system, the drainage system that exists, make sure it's not flooding. And work with the citizens and business owners and everybody to make sure the permit is implemented effectively. And the 6 minimum control measures under the permit are public education and outreach, public involvement and participation, and then illicit discharge detection. And I'll go through some of these in a little bit more detail. And then controlling the runoff from construction site and what happens after a construction project is completed. And then pollution prevention and good housekeeping. Next slide, please. So, like I said, we did an annual report to document what was done in the prior year that is reviewed by the state, and it is also subject to an audit. The last audit for the city was in 2019, and the next audit is scheduled for 2027 when the state officials would come and look at the program. They will check on how we've been doing and what is, still deficient. And a non-compliance is a violation of the Clean Water Act, and the permit specifically lists what those penalties would be. Next slide, please. So, talking about, I'll talk about 3 or 4 minimum control measures. So the first one is post-construction runoff. This stormwater control measure is an example of what a development site generally would be required to do for a new development to treat for any new impervious area, which means any new hard surface that are being built on the site. So that the quantity of water does not increase and the quality of water that gets into the streams is clean. At least to the level it was before the construction happened. And there are generally 4 types of stormwater control measures that exist. There's a vegetative conveyance, which are as simple as like a swale along the side of the road that the water flows through and gets treated. The filtration stormwater control measures are the ones where we will build an engineered media underneath it. So the water gets trickled in, treated, and then conveyed. And then we have detention and settling. So like this pond is an example of water is being detained so it can settle out the dirt, mud, and then there's the infiltration kinds, again, with an engineered media. It's like the, so I know this is getting a little bit more technical, but hopefully this is a good overview for all of you on what these practices look like. But basically, from the left, should be on your left too, I think, is the inlet system where the water will come up from the parking lot or a building or what have you. Then there's a pre-treatment system, which allows the water to settle down, catch any big trash or debris. Then it gets to the main treatment area where the water is either stored and treated before it discharges through the outlet drainage system into the streams. Next slide, please. So there are some examples here that I have put photos of. The first one on the left is a wet pond from Virginia. The second one is in Holly Springs, North Carolina here. That's a dry retention pond. So like you see wet, there's water that's detained, the dry stays dry, the water comes and goes. So next slide, please. There should be another slide. One after, yeah, there you go. So the one on the left here is a stormwater wetland, which is not a natural wetland, but a constructed wetland where we intentionally put some plants and things that are beneficial to absorb the nutrients out of the water. On the right is a bioretention cell in Chapel Hill. That is an example of an infiltration SCM. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to touch on the minimum control measure of illicit discharge detection and elimination. So what is an illicit discharge? Basically, anything that is not rainwater that gets into a storm drain system can be counted as an illicit discharge. Paint disposal, soap water from car washes, things like that would be counted as illicit discharge, because all of these have the potential to carry pollutants to the streams and then to your drinking water reservoirs. So this is a photo from construction site. Any of the sediment that leaves the construction site, which does not have proper controls, would also count as an illicit discharge. I know this is a lot of words here, so I'm not gonna read, but I just wanted to know that the city has a illicit discharge program, a plan, and that talks about, a map. So do we have an inventory of all the stormwater assets on the conveyance system, so we know if something enters the system, where is it going? And how to control it? Is there a regulatory mechanism to enforce some of these things? Is there an ordinance in place? And there is. What's the plan to detect? How would you detect these spills and things like that? How are we tracking them? Did they happen this year? How many happened? Where did they happen? Because all of these are also part of the annual report that is submitted to the state. And then there is a training component to it where the staff should be trained for it. Or any of the contractors that are working, and the city has started doing training for the staff last year. And then finally, the reporting does go into the annual reports. When it's submitted, on if there were any spills, the report, how much was it, what was the chemical in it, and things like that. Next slide, please. And then here's just next up from the ordinance that gives staff the authority to implement the IDE plan. Next slide, please. And the enforcement is very clear. It's laid out on, what it is. So if there was a spill, a small spill with domestic products, what does that financial or monetary penalty look like? And if it was a bigger spill, what does that look like? If you do it again, it multiplies. So those kind of things are in place. Next slide, please. And this is again an excerpt from the stormwater pollution prevention plan that was also developed for implementing the stormwater program. And this one goes into how is city facilities maintained. So, if it's the fire station, or in this case, particularly the operations and service center on Beckford Street, what are the mechanisms in place to make sure that it's being run properly, the chemicals are stored properly, the vehicle areas are clean, and there's no spills from there that are getting into the drainage systems. Next slide, please. And then, how are the pesticides and herbicides that you use for your right-of-way maintenance, how are they stored? Are they in the log facility? So here's just an example of the operations center down on Beckford Street. So you can see the material storages are properly covered in shed. The equipment has a shed on top, so if there was rain, it would not wash it off all into the storm system. So that's a good practice. This slide here shows the chemical storage in a shed that is locked in drums, and then on the right, it looks dirty, but this is a vehicle wash bay area, but that drainage system there is connected to a sanitary system versus a storm system, so it can get to the treatment plant for treatment versus to the streams. So that's again a good example. This is the vehicle maintenance area. You can see very cleanly kept and maintained, and there's a lot of staff who are continuously watching for it. Like Chuck, I think, works on that, but he keeps an eye on things like keeping them clean. The chemical storage area inside that building, very cleanly during our inspections, we found those things like that. So that was like a bigger, higher, overview of what the program is, what it does, and I'm going to talk about a few projects the city is currently doing for stormwater management. The first one is going to be the stormwater asset inventory and condition assessment. So we can go to the next slide, please. So this one was a project that was funded by North Carolina DEQ under a LASSI grant just for the local government assistance in December 2023 for $400,000. And this included mapping of a lot of the stormwater assets where things were missing. And then the purpose was really, if we have a good inventory, we can track if there was a spill where it's going to, and then measure the risk of these assets. When can they fail? We don't know the condition of these assets. So there's a pipe that's deteriorating under a roadway or, things like that. We wanted to know those so we can address them in time so that it'll collapse, cause flooding, things like that. And then develop a model for all of this. So before this project began, city had a decent inventory, like I said. But it also includes some NCDOT and private stormwater assets, but we did not know condition of any of those. So there was a lot of missing data and connectivity of assets, what's going where. So under this project, go to the next slide, please. We inspected about 100 pipes, 200 culverts, 800 inlets, and some channels and manholes. And then city was using an enterprise system when the project started called Cartograph, then eventually transitioned to CityWorks this last year. And so now all this data is stored there. And this map here just shows the condition of the assets that was determined during the field work. And of course, the red dots mean they're not in such a great shape. The green means, they're pretty good shape. So a whole measuring and scoring system was developed for this, and an overall condition index called OCI is what is demonstrated here. So based on this map and the list of projects, now we can prioritize and say, hey, a pipe under this road is about to fail or is, likely to fail faster. So the funds can be then looked at prioritizing those kind of projects. And this here is just a demonstration of the model that was built using all the data that was collected. We built a model in using a computer software called SWIM, the stormwater management model. I know it's not very innovative, but gets the job done, right? So based on that model, we can actually tell if there was a certain amount of storm that came through, which areas are likely to get flooded. You have a question, Madam Mayor?
This is very informative. I was just gonna ask you, because I'm looking at the map and I'm not certain, which area of the city would be flooded the most? Is it the center because of all of the blue dots or?
So, we're still like putting together all the tables and the maps.
Okay.
With those flooding depths.
Gotcha.
So there are different locations.
Okay.
And we ground truthed them with the city staff based on where actually flooding was occurring, right near Cameron Avenue, is where flooding actually occurring.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so. So this is just a, demonstration of nodes and how the model was built. Next slide, please. And then another project that's ongoing is developing, this is for permit compliance, for developing an operation maintenance plan for the MS4 system, which is your drainage system. So how should it be maintained? How often should it be maintained? And what should be done for it, maintenance wise? And the permit, this 373 section is from the MS4 permit from the state that requires the city to do those things. So this is under development. Hopefully by April, we will have this in place. Next slide, please. And then this one is a stormwater control measure operation maintenance plan. So all the ponds that are there, right? If the city owns any of these SCMs, how they should be maintained, when they should be inspected, things like that. So those things are in place. Again, part of permit compliance. And then there's some other future projects in the pipeline for the stormwater management program. So looking at any sinkholes or drainage repair projects that might be occurring in the city, that'd be something that we put into this program. There is a true to Nutbush Creek near the operations center. I don't know if anybody has been down that way, but it's eroding. And there's a sanitary sewer line that goes right next to it. And it's the erosion coming close where it could jeopardize the sanitary sewer pipe in the coming months. Of course, the stormwater model that's being developed is only for hydrology and hydraulics right now. We don't have one for water quality. So that would be something that could be done in the future. And then with the new CityWorks implementation, I think streamlining some of that data and integrating those processes would be a future project. And of course, continued compliance with the MS4 permit to stay in compliance with the state. And I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you go back to the mic for 1 second, please?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any
Already the question.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so the MS4 permit from the state, how does that work with the Clean Water Act?
It is a component of clean water?
Yeah, so the Clean Water Act is the federal law,
Right.
and then MS4 permit is, so the federal government, because they cannot do it in all 50 states, they do have authority in a couple of states, I think, where they directly implement it, otherwise they have delegated to the states to enforce the.
Yeah, I know the audit, you said 27 and 28.
27.
27. Is that, and if we are out of compliance for components of the Clean Water Act, what are the ramifications of that?
So generally it starts with a notice of deficiency, so they would, look at the program, and generally the state is, willing to work with the communities that have made substantial progress. So I was here for the 2019 audit, and several of the deficiencies were identified, and the city has taken steps to address some of them, not all of them, because they do require resources.
My first question.
Right? So the state understands they cannot address all of the deficiencies. So they would probably issue again a notice of deficiency, which would outline those things, say that, hey, you need to come in compliance with this, give us a timeline. And then we would propose something saying, we can do these things and.
My third question is resources. Do we, the possibility some that will trickle down either federal or state to us? I do know some municipalities have a stormwater tax, if you want to call it that, or whatever, based on coverage and that sort of thing. Is what is usually done by most cities as they're trying to comply with this.
So yes, a lot of cities do have a stormwater fee, tax, utility is, different terminologies that's being used. In fact, we're right now studying for Cary, they do not have one, and they have been funding it with the general funds. So we're looking at what are the options for them, whether it's, tagging on to the property tax, like an ad valorem tax. Just increasing that to account for some of the drainage projects versus if you implement a stormwater tax, utility, and I believe the city has done a study in the past on that, it hasn't been implemented yet. But that goes off of impervious area, which means, if I have a property with 2,000 square feet of built on area, hard surface, whether it's house and driveway and parking, then I'll pay tax on that versus somebody who has 5,000 square feet will pay tax on that. So that's different tiers, and you can have different rates for residential and commercial. So that is probably one of the most common mechanisms to pay for these projects.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, for example, you have a large development, a lot of parking area. Obviously, depending on how you design your structure to pay for that, you can either hurt development in the community because who wants to pay extra $1,000 a year because they got a large parking lot, or there are obviously some ways to mitigate that runoff from those so that they aren't overburdened in terms of a fee.
Well, I think so there you have to mitigate the runoff coming from the property if you're adding because of the tar pan rules and MS4 rules. So you have to build a practice. So we do review plans for the city as well. So, for example, a new development will come in and they will send us the plan. So if there's any increase in impervious area, they have to account for that. So if I had 10,000 square feet, let's say on a lot, and now I want to expand and make it 20,000 square feet, then I gotta show how am I treating for that extra water that's gonna be generated, because now water cannot go into the ground, it'll straight run off. So, I mean, most of those developments would be required to do something, but then also if you put in the stormwater utility fee in place, then because there's an ongoing expense, it's not a one time. Right, flooding occurs for everybody, anytime, different places. So that fee is implemented very commonly in the state.
Thank you. Any more questions, Councilman Pro Tem?
Yes, I have to get my 3 in like Gary. Yes, sir. Tammy Walker here, and I think that was a great presentation, and thank you for your thoroughness. Now, when did your assessment and inventory start and end?
So it started about 2023 March, and then it ended 2024 October. Karen, is that?
2025.
Sorry, 2025.
And again, how much of the city was assessed and how much of it was inventory?
Yeah, so I had that on one of the slides.
But you're still saying we do have some more to go?
Yeah, so we did not look at the driveway culverts because, a lot of times they're outside the right of way, they're private.
Right.
And they're less than, so I think we did over 15-inch pipes.
And that's wonderful. And you say that we have the stormwater inventory and assessment that you did for that. Are you working with our people, or are you, after you give them that, and you said now you can look and say maybe this infrastructure should be first, or this road should be on? Are we just giving this and to our public works, our safety and engineering, and we're kind of told to take this and work from here? Or are you still working with the plan, or is your work done?
That's a great question. So come April, we will have another presentation for you with that project only. Findings of that project. Where did we find the most problematic areas? And there's a full report being developed for that, which will include not only what we found in field, but also what is the computer model telling us where that flooding could occur. Because a pipe might look okay today, but if it's undersized and there's a big storm that comes, it's likely to get flooded. So that report will contain a recommendation of the projects that, hey, this is the most likely to get flooded or fail. Based on what we saw in the feed and what the computer model is telling us. So that should give the city staff a list, and yes, we are working continuously with the city staff to have those conversations.
Okay, sir, and thank you. My last question is, you said we have a city plan for regulatory and ordinance. Our city does? For illicit discharge.
Yes,
Sorry.
we do, yes.
Alright, and where would I find it?
I think it's on Unicode. So,
Unicode?
so if you just Unicode search for illicit discharge should show up. I believe there's a couple other ordinances that it's on the website too.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Christian. Thank you so much, sir.
I only have two questions, really short questions. The water quality improvement, what type of project would you recommend for that? Because I know we hadn't gotten that far yet.
Right, so for example, this Nutbush Creek that goes right past the off center is a prime example where the stream is actually listed on the state's impaired waters list. So we actually had a call today with the state to look at some more grant funding.
Okay.
So there's restoration type projects that can happen. So that would be a stream restoration project, as in we would take those stream banks that the erosion is happening and do some natural stabilization things like you can do big tree roots as towards and stick it in the bank and it just holds it in place. You can do live stake planting, so the more vegetation, the buffer areas, the harder it is to get it away. Then once that happens, it's not gonna solve the problem because the water is coming from the off center. But there's a 36-inch pipe that comes in, there's a 24 and 50, the water just, it's only probably 100 feet from the pipe discharge, so there's a lot of water that comes down and erodes it. So we will have to build some sort of a stormwater control measure, like the ones I showed you, like a stormwater wetland or a pond. The constraint here is it's a pretty tight area. So that is something we would have to evaluate, like engineering wise, what is possible.
Okay, this question it wasn't included in your slide, but because we just had this mass distribution let it go out, can you explain to the council as well as the public what the lead copper rule consists of from the EPA?
So that is outside of my wheelhouse. That's drinking water.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So drinking water experts would have to answer the lead and copper rule.
Okay,
My expertise lies more in
and stormwater.
rainwater. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions?
Thank you. Anybody?
Thank you so much. Okay, now we have the S line presentation. Come on up, S line.
Y'all know you signed up for 2 engineers in a row?
We're excited.
Got another PowerPoint for you. And while we're getting that set up, I do have my project partners here with me. So I have Michael Stafford with NCDOT's IMD division. Here again, I have Ron Lucas with NCDOT Rail and Kate Rob with my office. And I'm Ben Crawford with Chemical. You'll remember we were here February last year. So one. Oh. Okay. So quick overview, we'll do kind of a summary of where the project is. We want to give an update on the mobility hub process and then kind of talk about next steps. I'm pretty informal. If you have questions along the way you want to ask them, go ahead and ask. So an overview, so this is the S-Line project. If you'll remember, this is a different project than the mobility hub, but they are very closely related. So this S-Line project is the completion for passenger rail service from Raleigh to Richmond. And so it's a huge potential project that's moving forward, so that's exciting. Preliminary engineering is fully funded for the entire corridor. And if you remember, maybe 18 months or so ago, there was a big announcement for the $1 billion grant. And so that funded construction from Raleigh to Wake Forest. So that's that project. We are focused on a mobility hub. So as a quick overview, a mobility hub is any place where more than one transportation facility comes together, transportation process mode. And really the goal of a mobility hub is to make transportation easier, to improve access. That's really the goal. So when you're thinking about it, that's the frame of mind that you should be thinking about. But it will include, could include rail, which is a good one, right? Transit, passenger cars, bikes, peds, pedestrians. It could include the whole gamut. And so have an open mind also when you consider that as well.
Passenger cars consist of things like Uber, stuff like that.
And the car that I drove here and parked.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. But both of those. So as they relate together, so the mobility hubs are located along the S-Line corridor. There are 7 of them that are being studied. And of course, we're here today to talk about Henderson. I mentioned that we're funded for preliminary engineering for the corridor. I do want to say that this is a partnership between NCDOT and the city in the sense that NCDOT is looking for funding for the S-Line, but they're also trying to support the individual municipalities along the S-Line where mobility hubs are to find future funding for the hubs themselves. But really that's something that is driven by the municipalities as well. So that's some background. Some history. So you'll remember a couple of years ago, the transit-oriented development study was completed. We've built on that with the now the mobility hub, but we set in that transit-oriented development study, we set the playbooks. We studied the market. We found locations. We looked at implementation plans. So think big picture. We studied and looked at big picture what it could be. Now we're looking at the mobility hub study that we're working on right now, preparing to finalize, and we're looking at a very specific location, a specific site, and the things that are necessary and appropriate and applicable at those individual sites. And so there's been a significant amount of engagement through this process. So we started back in March of 2024. We had our first community workshop in June of 2024. We had the next year we had stakeholder shreds and the public design workshops. If you were able to attend, or we got to go into the bank building and see what the bank building looks like and kind of get a dream of what it could look like in the future. Can you go back one? I'm sorry. And then this was originally set to be presented in December before we had our winter weather or the scare of our winter weather. And so we moved it to January now. So if you see December, that's why. But throughout this process, we've had 37 meetings, mostly with Paylor, as we've gone through this process to try to make sure that we're listening to and understanding what the city's goals are for the project. So a little bit more detail of how we've developed this. So in the spring of 2024, we analyzed the existing conditions. We used that data informed by the community engagement that we completed, and we went through and started a site selection and site feasibility analysis. And so we looked at 2 different locations there and narrowed those down with the project team and the stakeholders. And then we went to the planning board and had a discussion about pros and cons, and came back from there and understood that the bank building was something that we wanted to take a good look at. So we went back and did some additional analysis of the bank building itself. With those updated information, we came back to the planning board and prepared some information so that we could go to council, to you guys in February of 2025. And so that's where we did. And if you remember, the goal then and what the resolution from the council was is bank building is the preferred site. So we've moved forward with that, and through the spring and summer of last year, we had the charrette, which focused on really trying to get an understanding from the community of this is the building, this is the site that we're looking at. What do you want to see on this site? What makes sense for Henderson? What's really most important about mobility hubs is trying to get them lined up with the communities they're in. What works best for Henderson is not going to be what works best for Cary. And so we want to make them reflective of Henderson. So that engagement process is a really important thing. So we went back, we asked specifically what works here, what do you guys like to see, those sorts of things, informed our design. And then we went through an effort, again, because of the status of the bank building, we did a little bit more effort in evaluating and understanding it. We got a historical architect involved so that we understood exactly what the effort would be to restore it and have it set up for the future. And then winter of 2025, we're compiling the content for the final report, and we should be finishing that report here sometime this spring. So this is some photographs we have along from the site. So I regret that I was not there the day when we got some of our folks got to get on the fire truck and on top of the bank building. That would have been the highlight of my day for sure. But that was a great experience. And so here's a little bit of an update. So this is concept to get as we go specifically in here. So this is the concept. This is the site that's across from the bank building that was selected. So we did get the concept designs done in September of last year. The big thing from a federal perspective is we got the class of action agreed to from FTA. And so that's the NEPA classification process that we have to go through. So that was excellent. It's going to be a categorical exclusion, which just kind of denotes the type of effort and type of documentation process that we need to go through. So we got that in October. We finished the architectural and historical evaluation in October. And in November 2025, we completed some 3D renderings. So think, you're about to see some of them, but think what could be, not necessarily what will be, but what could be. And so this is a little bit of the site plan in a rendering style format, computerized rendering. So, again, you have the bank building on the other side of the railroad tracks from this site. And we've tried to account for the different things that were important to the city and in the engagement process. And so parking was certainly something there. A plaza was important. Green space was, again, something that was important. And we're trying to do something that works well with the adjacent property owners and working those things together. And so here's some renderings of what could actually be there on site. So again, this would be the facility. You see the bank building on the far left of your image, and this could be the actual mobility hub. One of the feedback we got was an actual building was an important piece from the city's perspective, from the community's perspective. And so we wanted an actual building that could have a host of different uses, but a community building there. And this could be the transit stop, and there was trying to allow for both transit and car service locations. This is an example of what that could be. And again, parking, we heard very clearly that making sure parking was there was important. So try to be reflective of that. Other modes of transportation, so bike share was something that was considered. And again, green stormwater infrastructure was something that was important to consider. And then the plaza. So that was one of the other things that we heard very clearly. Art Plaza was something that we wanted to make sure that we integrated into what the site plan could be. And kind of a bigger picture look of maybe how it all fits together. And in this orientation, the bank would be off to your right. And so this is the second phase. So that was kind of the first phase. Now here's the second phase. So to orient you, second phase is once the S line is constructed. That's kind of been our thought process. So S line's there. S line is a great project, but in the city of Henderson, there's a lot of impacts associated with that project, right? So access across the railroad becomes a priority when that project is completed. So there's a pedestrian bridge that's included there. If you can go back one slide, thank you. And so we've set the plan up such that in that second phase, when the S line does come, that bridge can be put in place, so access for pedestrians across there is a part of what our project is including. In the first phase, that space is open, and then the second phase, we're able to add that crossing. We're also able to, it shows there that we're showing a station there too, but the circle number 2 is kind of the rail platform for passenger in the station. So some images again of phase 2. This is the bridge shown over. Again, the bridge shown over. And this is from the hub site, not the bank side, but from the hub site looking over. So TOD started this process, right? And so what we're showing, what we're trying to make sure we're doing, and what we've been asked, actually Paler made a big point of this, is making sure we're being consistent with that. So we've gone back and tried to make sure through each of these steps that, okay, what we've done in the TOD that we had planned for, that we're following or being consistent to that. So we are doing that. And as we look moving forward, this is going to be a group effort, right? If y'all remember, there were big numbers thrown around with how much that costs. So finding that funding is going to be a big piece of what needs to be considered. And so, of course, the city is a part of that, but Vance County, NCDOT is going to be a partner to try to support through that process. And of course, Kurt Cartop.
That's it.
And then in general, the community as well. So the thing that I think is important to understand is this is a broad group, a broad spectrum to make this project happen. So short, long, and midterm, I'll simplify it even more to say short term is let's get phase 1 on the ground. Midterm is what do we need to do to get ready for phase 2? And then long term is how do we get to phase 2? So I'll simplify it like that. And that's really what we're trying to say right here is we want to give a roadmap for these are the things that we needed to do to get phase 1 on the ground or get to construction. Midterm this is what really needs to be part of the focus to get that ready for constructed on the ground operating, like we want it open and operating. And then the phase 3 is how do we complete the whole project, get that bank building operating as part of the mobility hub. And that can really be a prime draw for the city. I think I have maybe one more slide. Yeah, so what we're asking is, and each municipality that we're asking has a different process for that. But we'd like an adoption or a resolution of support of the final plan or of the project. And so that's part A. That's what we're really asking and wanting to talk about tonight. We're going to continue with the NEPA process because it took so long to get a determination of that. That is going to take a little bit longer for us to complete than what we had originally hoped for. And then we're going to continue to engage with the public throughout 2026. That's the end of the presentation. So I'm glad to try to answer any questions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? That was good. You. Questions?
I just had one. Sir, what was the name of that grant, the surrounding buildings in the area? Do you remember what he said? It was a grant that we would be responsible for the buildings, but there was a grant out there. I don't know if it's just
Is
the
that-
neighborhood surrounding the hub or buildings around the hub.
One that I said?
Yes, sir.
I must have misspoke. I'm not,
Okay.
I don't know that I mentioned that.
Okay.
There's a grant that we, well,
I think you were talking about the TOD study that was previously done
Yeah.
before all of this.
I'm sorry.
So that was also one with a raise grant as a match opportunity, that NCDOT partnered with you guys on. Actually, that was even before I joined the department, so 4+ years ago.
Yeah.
You guys were going through this effort. Well, I guess Taylor was here, so. Yeah, so it started that way, and then we continue to apply for additional grant opportunities. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so raise, under the current administration, I think they're calling that build. It's the same program. but
Okay, thank
that's
you,
what they're
sir.
called.
I've recently received a letter from the Assistant Transportation Secretary that they are applying for a similar grant to be able to actually construct the S line from Wake Forest up to Franklinton.
Mhm.
I wish they would be able
Getting
to
close.
stretch it a little bit farther, but
Right.
that's what they said they would do.
Yeah, the grant monies are not as significant as they were previously.
For the previous administration. I'll say it for you. Any more questions, council?
No.
Thank
Mayor Elliott,
Sure, go ahead.
I do not have a question, but I do have a comment, and I think that any conversation about this, and I think my colleagues would agree with me, is the fact that we need to get ready in terms of downtown development, right? I think the time is now to really push downtown development, and I think I'm gonna say downtown development for the next 4 years of me being on this seat. But thank you so much, because this gives our community hope. We need something going on in our downtown area. It's a beautiful historic neighborhood. So this is a wonderful start to that, but I think that we need to be prepared whenever this does come to fruition.
Totally agree. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Mayor, I have a
Sure.
question,
Sorry,
if
go
I
ahead.
may. All right, the NEPA process, can you give us a little more depth about what's gonna have to happen there?
So he's the NEPA expert. I'm the facility engineer.
between the two of us, Ron on the rail side and me, so it's kind of twofold, right? The projects are separate. Ron and his team are doing all of the S line and clearing everything going north, to connect with our Virginia counterparts. And then on our side, I'm managing your mobility hub project. So we've received what's called a class of action of a categorical exclusion. Essentially, just think about it, a name of a document that we have to follow the guidelines to make sure we adhere to the federal standards for clearing environmental work for this project. It is a lengthy process because the bank building is historic, so we have to take additional protocols and discuss with people at the state to make sure that we are essentially, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and making sure that we're not causing additional damage or harm to the building in any way. So it takes a while, our goal is under a year, so we have to, well, your team is doing some of that too. We have to do our species analysis review, historical review. Some of the team has already gone out and done the structural review. So all of that just needs to be done.
I was gonna say it's a procedural law, it's a law of the slope. It doesn't dictate what alternatives are selected. So it's this process of doing all of the analysis, disclosing what are the impacts if you take a certain action. So as far as NEPA, we've definitely worked with our federal partners, being on his side FTA, on my side FRA, as far as trying to streamline the process, because it can become lengthy. And it seems like we're making some progress there. But I wanted to speak to the comment made about I guess the grants, the discussion between Wake Forest and Franklinton. We do have the upcoming state partnership grant in which that we've had those discussions in the rail division. I guess we're very aggressive. IND is very aggressive as far as getting these federal discretionary grants, and I believe in this state that we do a very good job at it. But the challenge with I guess you could say these type of grants is we have to have a non-federal match. So sometimes how much match we can get can dictate how much grant money we're eligible for, and that's always a somewhat of a challenge.
I think to close out a little bit of that NEPA discussion, what we were assigned for a class of action was what we were trying to achieve. So this, I would say it's on the smaller side of workload compared to what we definitely could be told to do. So this is a win for us.
Yes, absolutely.
That sounds good.
Thank you all for your hard work.
Yeah.
And Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask our fire chiefs to come up for just a minute, if you would. Sure. To talk a little bit about there's a huge block of buildings downtown that stretches from Montgomery down to Orange Street. And when the S line actually goes to construction, we've already, as a city, have signed off on the closure of all of these at-grade intersections. And that's going to affect our ability to be able to deploy emergency resources on the backside of those buildings. And I'd like the fire chief to discuss that a little bit for the benefit of everyone here, and also to get it into the historical record, because this is a long project. It's going to take many more years for it to actually come to fruition. Some of us may not be here, and I don't want us to lose sight of some of the things that we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer and Mayor and Council. On this slide, around the area for where number 2 is and the raised platform is, we just, as this design goes forward, we'd like to understand accessibility to the backside of those buildings.
Yep.
It's a long stretch as you look from the bird's eye view. And as you can see with the ladder truck that you guys used on the front side, when the rails get in place with the S line possibly coming, I won't have access from the backside. So that's isolating us quite a bit. Effort to keep that area safe. So I just wanted to see if there's been any kind of, from the engineering standpoint, any safeguards that can make this accessibility space on the backside a factor for us.
Sure. So the thing that I will say, and I don't have great answers. So what I do have is the understanding of how important it is to the city. And so Paylor's been very good about, Mr. Sproul's been very good about sharing that understanding, that concern to the project team. So that will be something we have to do in coordination with the S-Line team.
Okay.
And so as that S-Line rail team starts to advance what they're working on, then that is by all means something that we can place a lot of emphasis on. If there's an opportunity to keep that an alleyway open to allow for that, then that will be something that we strive our hardest for. But we are not in a position to be able to guarantee it or to commit to, just because we don't know yet what the S-Line project's gonna need and gonna require. And so that could be, and we've tried to be transparent through the process that, best case scenario, at least from what we've seen, is a one-way alleyway or a narrow alleyway that could be used there. Worst case scenario might be no access that's left once that project is done. If some of the things that we haven't fully investigated yet and haven't been able to fully investigate yet is, all the integrations of how the bridge landing and the bridge piers are set up related to the main building. And so as we're able to dig, as the mobility hub project also advances further, we'll be able to, right now with the bank, we've gone inside, we've looked around, we've done those things, but we've not done. And one of our next important things to do is to dig adjacent to the bank, look at what those foundations for that bank is and what opportunities we have both to either utilize that edge or how closely we can get and those sort of things. So there's still some things that are undetermined, but we definitely understand and the importance and interest that having access there is. Thank you.
And just a final comment that, I guess if all else fails, hopefully we can look at the platform as having, structural capability to carry some of the emergency, capability.
Engineers can accomplish a lot of things. That is not something that's undoable. That's certainly something that's accomplished.
And we appreciate the NCDOT and all of its divisions that have been working on this and their willingness to work with us to try to resolve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cruz, if you don't, if you don't understand this little shit. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. All right, we're gonna move on, to public comment period on agenda items. We don't have anyone that signed up, so we'll move on in the agenda to our new business. With CAF 2601, dedication of the Henderson Police Department, 200 Breckenridge Street in honor of Chief Melvin G. Smith's legacy and transferring $5,000 of the North Carolina State Treasury Fund to support this capital improvement project. Ms. Madge?
Yes, ma'am. We, if I could ask the police chief to come up first.
Good evening, everybody. I apologize for not being here at the last meeting. I had preset vacation time. And then they changed the council meetings. I didn't get to congratulate y'all on becoming members, but, council members, but congratulations. Well, thank you. This, I've been thinking about this for over a year, even prior to this passing. Chief Smith, was the first, right? He actually became a police officer in a time that this nation was in great turmoil. Matter of fact, before the civil rights bill was even passed, he became a police officer here in Henderson. Can't imagine that. I can't fathom that. I have nothing to relate that to at all, but I couldn't. I mean, it just had to be some type of feat. But he wasn't just the first police officer. He was the first sergeant, African-American sergeant. He was the first African-American lieutenant. He was the first African-American captain. He was the first and only African-American major. Matter of fact, when I got permission to have an assistant chief, I chose not to call him major. I chose to call him assistant chief because that position was created for Chief Smith. Then he became police chief. Was any of that given to him? Absolutely not. And I can attest to that by looking through his file. I was amazed at looking through his file. He attended more classes than anybody I've ever seen. He was the most qualified person for every position he ever held in that police department. I didn't introduce his family on purpose to start off with, because I don't want y'all to feel influenced by the amount of family he has here, but they are here. And I got to know some of his family members after he passed. I got to meet Chief Smith in 1998. He had already retired. He was the police chief up until 1997. But I got to meet him through BLET.
But he beat us up with the red man.
One of the toughest human beings you would ever meet, but kind, thoughtful. He was an educator.
Yes.
He wanted us to learn. He didn't want to see us fail. But his 50% was better than anybody's 100% ever. I promise. I probably got a messed up shoulder because of it. But he was a tough man, a very fair man. And meeting his family, I realized he lives on forever. I mean, just wonderful family, great family. The police department has never been named. Some historic members of the police department
We've seen the conference room upstairs being named after Sam Pearson. And if you ever met a legend, Sam Pearson was in it. The roll call room was named after Captain Davis, which I got to work a long time with Captain Davis. If you knew Captain Davis, you'll never forget Captain Davis. But it's time. The police department needs a name. Us, other than the city police. Other than the Henderson Police Department, it needs a name. His military service goes right along with us putting a military memorial out front. I'm not asking for any tax dollars to pay for this. I'm using drug funds to pay for this, which we can do, and doing improvements to a building. And this is an improvement to that building. It's $5,000 is what I'm asking for a transfer. Those plaques now cost somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000 a piece. And I want one large one on the front, and I need one at the back door for all the officers to recognize what building they're walking into. So, and remember, so that's my ask. Y'all can read what I wrote. I write better than I speak.
Someone like to read this out just
But it's hard.
for the audience and the public? They don't have a copy?
Yeah,
Someone like to read it?
hold off on one second. Just to add, I had a personal experience with Chief Smith. He was the red man known as Vance Brown. He was the one that would train you in defense mechanisms. And like the chief said, he was fair because I just kept getting knocked down. But he had this thing in him that made you want to work, made you want to be better. And so every time I hit the floor, instead of him saying, you know, you just don't qualify, he would reach his hand down and pull me back up. So I just wanted to add that piece in because he was a very fair person and he did want to see you to be successful, but he wouldn't pass you unless you passed the course. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and he was a wonderful man. So thank you. And
I'll add one last thing.
Mhm.
For him to be a first at all the things that he was first at, you never knew it by talking to him. He never said it. I didn't know. I found out and I learned later on in life, later on in my career, that he was always first. I had no clue. So.
okay, so
Yeah, you can go, if I read it afterwards, that's just beautiful. You're just a great person, that's really wonderful for you to recommend that.
do we have a motion on the floor?
I would like to make
a motion. Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Champion and seconded by Councilmember Venable. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
All right, and let's clarify this, let's make this for the resolution and the ordinance, if y'all are okay with that.
Yeah.
The transfer fund, okay?
Thank
All right, Ms. Gomez Amino,
Yes.
Mr. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Seifert,
Yes.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Gaki.
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Champion.
Yes. And the motion has passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll come up, Chief, and take a photo, because y'all hold the cap and I'll bring the cap to you, how about that?
And we, I've already talked to his daughter, and we're gonna have a ceremony at some time when we find out when all the plaques and all can be made. And we will have a celebration in front of the police department for that event.
Thank you, appreciate it, really. You're the daughter. Yeah. I can say somebody just like. Thank you so much. Thank you. You beat me up real bad. What did they say that? You practice with us first.
Alright, let's see, how about a pizza? Like this.
Yeah. Yes, you come on. Perfect. Perfect. Chief Barrow. See you now. Come on, Chief. Thank you.
Wow.
And also.
So Mayor, may I, Mayor, may I just briefly read the explanation and just the
Yes,
explanation?
absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. The city of Henderson has a long-standing tradition of recognizing individuals whose service, leadership, and character have significantly impacted our community. Naming a public building in someone's honor is among the highest distinction the city may bestow, and it is reserved for individuals whose contribution reflect exceptional achievement and lasting influence. Chief Melvin G. Smith's service to the city of Henderson and to our nation exemplifies these standards. Before entering public service, he served the United States Air Force beginning in 1957, receiving an honorable discharge in 1961, and continuing in reserve duty until 1963. A graduate of Henderson Institute, class of 1957, he began his historic career with the Henderson Police Department on February 10, 1964, becoming the first African-American police officer in the department's history. 144 days prior to the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, this groundbreaking step was taken during a period of national division and social change, making his perseverance and success especially significant. Throughout his more than 3 decades of service, Chief Smith advanced through the ranks with distinction. Sergeant 1970, Lieutenant 1976, Captain 1983, and Major 1992. On February 23rd, 1995, he was appointed Chief of Police, once again breaking barriers as the first African American in the history of the city of Henderson to hold that position. His personnel record reflects exemplary leadership in investigations, supervision, and departmental operation, as well as enduring commitment to professional development through education, training, and instruction. These actions recognizes not only Chief Smith's historic milestones, but that also his legacy as a mentor, an educator, and advocate for progress within law enforcement. His contributions extend beyond rank and title. They represent courage, public trust, and a career dedicated to elevating the profession and the community he served. Chief Melvin G. Smith passed on July 22nd, 2025. For these reasons, it is recommended that the police department located at 200 Breckenridge Street be officially named the Chief Melvin G. Smith Police Department and lasting honor of his service, achievement, and leadership.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. Definitely deserving of that. Great honor. We'll move forward to CAF 2602, approving council committee appointments. Mr. Manager.
Mayor, the appointments I believe you have recommended, and that has been distributed to each of the individual members. And so we ask that you proceed as you feel appropriate.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved. Yes, I do not, I wanted to revisit that, and
Hold on. We got a motion and a second. So let's move
Who
forward.
is the motion? Who's the motion?
Councilwoman Champion, seconded by
Okay,
Councilwoman Bennett.
well, before we did that, I didn't think that that would be necessary. Before we did the motions, I thought we would be able to revisit the appointments because of the interest of several council members and their appointments. So if that was the case, I would have done an add-on, but I was told I really didn't do I need to do an add-on. We could revisit this because we have maybe 2 to 3 council members who have some interest in or some questions about the council committee appointments.
That's fine, but we have a motion and a second on the floor. Mr. Attorney, how do we proceed?
Well, typically, when you have a motion and a second, there can be a call for discussion.
prior to the vote. So if there's discussion, there could be discussion, but the motion on the floor does need to be voted on since it is currently pending.
Absolutely. Um. Madam Clerk, the motion should be
We're gonna
voted on.
Okay.
And before we move forward, let's do history. The mayor makes the appointments. The mayor tries to accommodate the appointments. So if we're gonna have a discussion, we could do that after this, but there's never been a appointment done by a mayor in the history of the city where it was a problem. So Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Noel,
No.
Mr. Cypher,
No.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Gazy,
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
No.
Ms. Champion,
Yes.
Ms. Gomez Amina.
No.
Is that a time?
It is time.
Okay, I'll break it. And I'll say yes. And the motion is passed.
Okay, can we now have discussion?
Mr.
Yeah.
Attorney?
Typically, you would have discussion prior to the vote.
I tried.
Standard protocol would be, when the agenda item comes up, first there could be some discussion, but once the motion is made, and seconded, there can be discussion of that motion prior to the vote. It still needs to be voted on because it is a pending motion, but the discussion can occur between the time the motion is seconded and the time the motion is voted on.
Right, but
That would be the
understand.
typical process.
Understood, but the vote has taken place.
Correct. Now the vote is taking
And,
place.
and the vote is.
But if there is a request for
There is.
discussion or a motion for reconsideration, there could be that. Motion for reconsideration, I think under the typical rules, I haven't looked at ours specifically on this, but would require a motion for reconsideration at the meeting by someone prevailing side.
Well, that would be me. I would like to make a motion for reconsideration and a motion for discussion. And I was just trying to have that discussion prior to the vote. But since we couldn't get that in, I would like to go ahead and proceed with that. And I also would like to, proceed with discussion right now, if I could.
I believe discussion would be appropriate for the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, if I could, my colleagues, and I won't be very long. We have, and this has been, what's called a council committee appointments. And council committee appointments normally occur every 2 years. These appointments are done, both by the mayor and the city manager. Are those the only two who work on the appointments?
And according to the charter, it's done by the mayor.
Okay, it's done by the mayor, okay.
Charter.
But you do sit in, do you also sit in and help her make recommendations or suggestions?
I was not asked to,
Okay. All right, well, now that we know that, mayor made these appointments, I was given an appointment, on the 29th with four council appointments. One being, public safety, one being public works, one being, I think, board advisory, and one being, let's see, on my last appointment, we had, public safety, public works, regional water system, and airport advisory. And I just wanted to wonder why, after giving those 4 committee appointments, that I was later just given one, appointment committee members.
The appointments were made by discretion of the mayor. And I made the appointments according to the council and all of the people included, not just one person, but everyone.
Okay, because I think some people's appointments change 3 times. However, when I asked you and when I was in my meeting and I allowed you to come into my meeting and I was discussing some things, including water. And I went on to elaborate to Ms. Lipscomb about it, and at that time you stopped me and said that I had too many duties or something, so you took me off water and put Gary back on? Is that what we were doing? I'm just trying to get clarity because this is what I think should happen. I think when you come in and you vote and you vote to make, let's start off with these and then I'll go on to Mayor Pro Tem. I think when these appointments are made and they're given to the city clerk to count, I think the city clerk should count them and dispose of them immediately. Because I think given the fact that we had a mayor pro tem vote that had at the end, you know, some backlash of words, and then the mayor being able to see who voted for who, and then the next day your appointments are lessened. I think it would probably, in all fairness, why would the mayor have to see who voted for who for mayor pro tem?
First of all, Mayor Pro Tem, I never saw who voted for who. The things were put before me. I have no idea who wrote what. So there's no way I can decipher on who voted for who. So that's not it. I was only given a slip to count that. And that's all I did.
But you were able to go through each one and count them and record visually the 3, the 4, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm just gonna move forward, Maris, because I just wanted to shed some light on that. And before I finish shedding light on that, I wanna say this to my colleagues. I encourage each and every one of you, whatever board that you're on, sit on more than one meeting. You know, just because you're on just because you're not on Human Rights Department does not mean you cannot go to their meeting and sit in and make educated, contribute to that. Go to a zoning meeting, go to any kind of meeting, because how can you come to the board and make, decisions without even going to those meetings? So I think instead of just saying, hey, I'm on this committee, because now I'm going to go to every meeting that I can, every meeting that I can go to. I'm going to go and try to educate myself so that when I come into chambers, I will be versed on that. So sometimes we have to take and make lemonade with lemons. And even as the mayor pro tem, any future mayor pro tems who sit in this seat and have this role, I encourage you, like the mayors, to sit on every board, every commission, go to every meeting, and get as educated as you can, so that when these caps come before you, you'll be able to make the best decisions for the city. Thank you.
I think that's very informative, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
I would like
Yes,
to, make a point of discussion.
Sure.
I'm still getting used to this mic, so please do forgive me. It's my first official night.
Absolutely.
But I would like to sort of reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem Walter has mentioned. I believe that there's no, pushback or discussion in the fact that the mayor has the absolute authority, and I think that comes with your elected position, which I congratulate you for.
Thank
It's in the charter, you have this responsibility to bestow upon us these committee and board appointments. That's fantastic. And I respect that authority. So that being said, I guess I'll speak on my personal perspective when it comes to the appointments that I received, if I may
Sure.
mention what those are.
It's public.
Okay, awesome. So I got boards and commissions, human resources, and public safety, which you nailed it with public safety. Thank you so much for that one.
You're welcome.
But I will say, and again, please do stop me if I should be saying stuff, then I'll say stuff that I'm saying, but we were all asked to submit our top 3 choices, right? Rank your top 3 boards and commissions that you would like to be a part of. It's nothing guaranteed, right?
Right.
And as a freshman council member myself, I would be grateful if I just got one. So the ones that I had ranked Land Planning and Development, Henderson Advanced Economic Development Commission. I knew that was going to be competitive and, not promised, and none of these were promised, again, to reiterate. And the third one was Public Works. And I believe I'm one of 2 council members that got none of my, rankings reflected in the actual results of the appointments. And again, none of these rankings, it's not a promise, right? It's not a promise that you're going to get what you ranked for. However, again, I feel like there's inconsistency in the way that these appointments were made, and I'm not fighting it. I will show up to human resources, boards and commissions, public safety, and give it my all. I just really wish that we could give not only this council, but the public sort of a more, this is how this works. This is why your council member is not on these commissions or boards, just because they look at the website, they look at the boards that we serve on, and they're like, wait, I thought that she was passionate about economic development, or I thought she was passionate about this. So just, I think this is a moment for transparency and education, right? Not pushback, not argument, not defiance, just a moment for education and transparency.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you, Ms. Jimenez, and as you said, none of the appointments are promised.
Right.
And so because we all are on this board as a governing body, me only voting with a tie, I looked at all of the appointments and I looked at where people were. And no matter, you're gonna be here for 4 years, everybody has a 4-year term. And I feel like during that 4 years, you're gonna be able to experience the committees that you would like. I also feel like what Mayor Pro Tem said, you can also attend any meeting, you just don't have a vote in those particular meetings. So I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with the appointments that were made. I took the assignments when I was given to my assignments by Mayor Eddie Ellington. I didn't get what I wanted to get, but I learned from every aspect of the committees that I sat on. So I think all of the committees are important, and I think every committee that you sit on makes a difference, and you can utilize your skill set in any committee.
Absolutely.
Any more discussion?
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Sure.
I just wanted to be on record to reflect that my no vote was for the lack of discussion and not for the rejection of the appointments.
Yeah, that was, Madam Secretary, Madam Clerk. Okay, I don't know how we want to handle that.
Can I speak to that? real quick?
Absolutely.
Do we have formal rules of procedure adopted for this board? I was unable to find them online. I don't know if we have adopted rules of procedure or if that's something that we need to consider doing.
Yes, we do.
We do, we
We do.
normally, and then we
Quickly.
also sign,
Where would I find those? Cause
yes.
I'd like to make
they
sure I'm
should
familiar.
be, they're in the charter.
They're in the charter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly.
And also, yes, we also signed at our retreats yearly about our rules, ethics and conduct and all of that. So we should have that at the retreat, right, Mr. Pell?
Yeah.
Coming in.
We can, Mayor, yes. In fact, I'd like to suggest that, our city attorney, probably and I'll get into this in my manager's report, but the city attorney, I think, could provide, very informative instruction on the procedure as far as city government and how it operates. It would be at best efficiency and how we might interact well together.
Absolutely. For Robert Rules of Order, correct? That's what we.
That's what I had in mind.
Okay.
Some board, there's suggested rules of procedure for municipal governments. Some use Robert's Rules of Order, but
Yeah.
there are proposed rules of procedure that are adopted by the school of government that are more specific to North Carolina law.
Okay,
If we don't have that adopted, I would suggest we look into adopting rules along those lines that clarify the types of issues that just came up. You know, when discussion happens, does it require a second? Typically, the procedure would be motion is made, motion is seconded, floor is open for discussion. The motion on the floor is discussed, then it's called for a vote. I would imagine if we don't have those rules set out somewhere specifically, I think it would benefit the council to adopt formal rules setting out those
Absolutely.
procedures.
thank you, Mr. Hartzog. I know I've been here for 10 years, it's always been Robert Rules of Order, and I can say from the last attorney, not the last one, but the one that was here a little bit longer. Once the motion was made and the second, he would not allow discussion. So thank you for clarifying that. Ms. Champion, Councilwoman? No?
No.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, Mr. Venable?
well, I think, with the appointment thing, I have no problem with it. Wherever I go, I'm gonna be fine. The first time I didn't get what I want. I'm fine with that. I went where I was sent, worked well, met some good people, learned some great things. Second term, I didn't get exactly but I'm okay with that. Wherever she sent me, that's where I'm gonna go.
There it is.
I don't have a problem with wherever you send me. It's not a permanent position for me anyway. I'm there to serve, and wherever I'm going, I'm gonna serve.
All right, Mr. Hartzog, how should we proceed? Does the vote stand or do we go back and vote again?
I mean, the vote was the vote, so the council voted the way they did. If I may suggest, I was happy to bring back a proposed rules of procedure.
Absolutely.
For discussion and consideration by the board at the next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's move.
All right, moving forward, we're going to,
I'm sorry, it is in
Is,
Robert's rules of
yes,
order.
there. It's in the
It is
chart.
the adopted.
my suggestion would be that we don't necessarily go entirely by Robert's Rules of Order, that we look into using the suggested rules of procedure that are suggested by the UNC School of Government,
Absolutely.
because they're a little more specific to North Carolina law and this body.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harbaugh. All right, moving forward to CAC 2604, awarding a department handgun and badge to retiree officer Anthony Mills. Mr. Manager?
His name in again. Tony Mills started with the police department, after retirement from the alcohol law enforcement branch of North Carolina. Many of you probably know him as Tony. I think he became famous with his cowboy hat he was always wearing, sit around and all. And the boots, but Tony worked hard for the city of Henderson in his time here. He gave a lot of his personal time to the city of Henderson, did a great job as a liaison to the federal government, later becoming a ATF TFO with the federal government through our agency, which I'm glad that y'all allowed him to do. It meant that we were able to take some really bad people off our streets. He went through a multitude of people that we took federally and always got good convictions and good sentencing, but he always treated everybody fair. I've rode with him. He's talked to people about their choices in life and everything else. I think he tried to gain some type of knowledge of their reasons of why they did what they did. And he tried to always lead somebody on a different path. He was popular for making contact when people came out of the system and keeping relationships going that way. ATF was proud to have him. I'm sad to see him go. He's not here tonight. He's getting ready to go out of town on a vacation. But this is important to us as police officers to receive our badge and file once we retire. And you'll see that our normal procedure is to do it for $1. And I'm willing to pay that $1 or any price that y'all set. I have no problem with it.
Council?
Mayor, can I introduce CAF 2604?
Absolutely.
I second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Gary Dakey and seconded by Councilmember Michael Benedict. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Seifert,
Yes.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Blakey,
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Champion,
Yes.
Ms. Gomez Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Noel.
Yes.
And the motion has passed. Thank you, Chief. Moving forward to CAC 2605, 2026 Community Waste Reduction and Recycling Grant Program. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. This was an opportunity that came rather recently to our attention. And we're hoping that we'll be awarded and have funding that will allow us to go from a can type of recycling collection to a cart-based system. And if I may, I'd like to ask our Assistant City Manager if she would come up for just a moment. She is more familiar with the recycling program. And I'm pleased to say, I think I have overestimated the number of carts that we may require. So perhaps the grant will go further than I initially thought.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again.
Good evening.
So yes, we had a meeting on Friday afternoon with the COG. They are helping us put the narrative together for this. As y'all know, we have totes now, those green, blue totes that you see. And people don't appreciate those because you gotta lug them to the curb and then the wind blows and takes all the recycling out, which we don't like. So we're looking to do carts, just like our trash can, yes. So we talked to them on Friday, they are putting the narrative together. We have about close to 1,000 people. The original count we got was 262. That was not correct. That was on backdoor service for our trash. So it is about 1,000. And that's from what we had looked into, that may be all that we can purchase this time. Our goal is to get at least 3,000 of our customer out of 6,000 to recycle. So we're gonna be working on this time and time again till we can get that number up. But hopefully by using these carts, it'll be a whole lot easier and less trash that you see the wind blow away. So.
One question, maybe.
Sure. As you know, we brought this up in Public Works last year, and
Yes, sir.
I saw the grant. I think I forwarded it. Y'all probably already own it. But my question is, if we get 1,000 and we have more, how do we decide who gets them first? If we have, I mean, I'm hoping we'll have that kind of demand.
So the discussion that was had was first come, first serve. Whoever asked for it first, and then we give out as many as we've got to give out. And then hopefully we can get more grant funding or budget funding to purchase some more. So I would love to see everybody who wants one have it.
Me too. And I know we talked too, trying to improve the number of people who recycle, which it is 25%. Your goal is 50, which is wonderful. I thought this would make it easier, especially and I had talked to so many I'm older too, but the folks have to carry the carts and stuff. And they say, well, I just don't bother, but if they can roll it down like they do the GFL carts, they might recycle. So I'm thinking this may help us improve our.
Councilwoman Chan.
I just wanted to know, now we talking about grants.
Mhm.
And maybe I went to sleep for a few seconds, but, I just wanted to know, is there going to be an extra charge for that's gonna come attached with the water bill?
Not on these, no.
Council, how would you like to proceed?
Michael, and make the motion to approve CAF 26.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Gary Dickey, seconded. Yes, sir.
Before we vote, can I chime in one more time? I did look at the charter does say we follow Robert's Rules of Order. So in order to adopt new rules of procedure, we would actually have to change our charter, which would require an act of the General Assembly. So it may be more difficult than just bringing in rules of procedure. But Robert's Rules of Order does say the proper procedure would be motion, second, then debate, and then vote.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So we have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Dickey and seconded by Councilmember Champion.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Discussion.
Oh, do you guys have a discussion? I'm so sorry. Discussion? No discussion? No discussion. All right, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Gacy.
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Champion.
Yes.
Ms. Gomez Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Thacker.
Yes.
The motion is passed. Moving forward to public comment period on non-agenda items. We have one person that signed up. If Miss Melissa Lemon is still here, please come to the podium, state your name. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mayor. Melissa Lemon, over 1806 Park Lane. I'm here to address the mayor's request for an apology from the city council based on the special investigation for the city of Henderson. I received the report through a public records request. It was redacted, of course, but there are a lot of concerning things in this report, and I just can't let it go unnoticed. Of particular note were responses to questions regarding threats and intimidation, increased anxiety, bullying and aggression, job jeopardy, unprofessional behavior, rudeness, and there were answers indicated that there was negative behavior from the mayor regarding all of these issues. In addition to that, during the investigation, several witnesses made many allegations regarding the mayor's behavior in office. Just a few of them: treating city department heads and executive staff with contempt, bullying and intimidation to fellow council members, statements to the effect that the mayor has 5 votes, and if you cross the mayor, she would use her votes to either terminate you or have adverse professional consequences due to the mayor's support from her colleagues at that time. These are really concerning to me. And if you look at the findings, I'm just going to talk about a couple of the findings. This is the mayor for the city of Henderson. This is a council manager form of government. The mayor presides at council meetings and has very narrow power to act individually apart from being a member of the council. At times, the mayor's actions demonstrated a belief that she had more power than the position provides. This often led to disagreements and disruptions during council meetings. Treatment of staff. Witness interviews and the director's survey clearly indicate that the city staff were treated poorly or unprofessionally by the mayor. Clear indications that the mayor treated staff poorly. The survey results were very telling. The reason I'm bringing this up, Mayor, is this is a new year. And instead of waving this around saying you've been vindicated and you want an apology, I hope that you will take the results of this investigation and that you will use them constructively. I hope for this new year that we can be better, that the council can be better. None of us have forgotten all of those meetings during the last year that conveniently have been deleted, that there was just terrible, terrible disruption and chaos. I hope that through this investigation, things will be better going forward. And that's what I'm asking, to use this investigation constructively. Thank you.
Welcome, thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
No, no, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Chapin.
Y'all gonna do your reports?
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't do the reports. Okay,
And then I have something to say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Manager, Mayor Pro Tem, the attorney, and I'll do mine last.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I'd like to ask, Ms. Wilson if she would come back to the podium. And, I think it would be beneficial if you could hear, some of the progress that we've made on the pothole repair project.
Yes. All right, so, thanks to Mr. Sproul, he allowed us to make a pothole crew. From 2 of our employees to put them just on potholes. So we had them go out, Lee and I, 'cause Lee's in this with me. We had them go out last Thursday and Friday to take inventory. They rode every street in the city. We've got 263 potholes, 13 sinkholes, 6 where the tree roots have raised the asphalt, and 51 utility cuts that need addressing. They started today. I do not have a number of what they accomplished today. Lee and I were running around doing meetings today, so we did not get that number before we came. But we should have a weekly report that we can send to y'all if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say this, well, and don't throw nothing. Weather depending and if the asphalt companies are producing. So that makes a big deal.
I just want to make a point. I know some potholes that we've done probably previous to these folks. And then some of them are almost as bad when you drive over them afterwards. I just hope you have the training and the equipment they need when they fill them to smooth them from side to side, because I know when we've done repairs, when we do 2x2, 4x4, et cetera, sections.
Yes.
Those are done very smoothly because it's preparation of the road prior. Sometimes it's a pothole that's big, and of course, again, it just needs to be smooth, and I've seen some that were still very rough.
The ones they worked on,
Do it, let's do it.
they pulled it up. They removed as much alligator asphalt, you've heard us talk about that before, as they could. Tamped it so that it would sit smooth, and then asphalted it back. So hopefully moving forward that these repairs will be much better than just putting a little bit of asphalt in a hole. So.
So far, so good.
Thank you, Ms. Listall.
Later.
Thank you, Chris. 1 second. I'd like to first of all, move on to streetlight repairs, if I may. And I'd like to thank, Mr. Seifert for, the relation to Beth Townsend. I think that's gonna be very helpful. But if I could ask, Krista to come back up and, also give you an update on the food light.
Okay, so the streetlights, they can be reported on Duke Energy's website. Marcus has agreed to let his officers, if available, during evening hours, like Sunday evenings, to get a report together of streetlights that they find. He reported 15 this morning to the website. That will be a weekly progress that we do. So we're gonna see how Duke does. I did find out today, and I don't know if y'all were aware, I was not aware, but I reached out to DOT about their potholes on DOT streets. There is a portal on DOT's website that you can put in potholes, holes on the shoulder of the road. Y'all have seen those big holes, like if you run off the shoulder, you're gonna lose your car. They can be reported. Lee, what's some of the other things that was on there? Tree limbs. It's about 6 different things on there. I didn't know about the portal, and I don't think Lee knew about the portal. So my contact at DOT sent me that this morning. So.
Let's see if we can push that out onto our website.
We can do that. All right.
And Mayor, I'd like to also, convey to you that we are in the first steps of putting together, a very different, litter removal policy. I've asked the police chief and also, the assistant city manager and to take a look at the possibility of, using the Division of Adult Collection and Juvenile Justice, system. There are actually 2 possibilities. I've been told that they have, typically community service for some people.
Yeah.
Who have minor infractions, that type of thing. And there's also the possibility of inmate work crews. We would not put those 2 together, but we could possibly operate those in parallel. And provide essentially, no cost labor to the city. But we would have to have some type of supervision and the ability to provide, equipment. But we're looking at that. We'll update you as soon as we have something that we hope makes sense. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Cal.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
I do. Please bear with me.
Christie to come back up 1 second.
I'm gonna give her a list. We have made, very significant progress, with my counterpart at Vance County, regarding the old municipal building and one-stop permitting. Their council has, I understand, has unofficially endorsed, doing all of the upfit to that building that remains to be needed in order to make this happen. There are some things that we would have to do. We need to be able to provide parking for that facility, and so we're looking at the property across the street that the city has already purchased from the Embassy Foundation. That's going to have some price tag attached to it, and we'll probably define those numbers here shortly. But it does appear that if you are willing, that I think we can have this done by the end of the year, if not before.
That's amazing. That's very versatile. So I have a question on that one.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would be proposed for the people that were using the shelter? I mean, that spot as a shelter. Is there any plans on finding somewhere else for them?
I've asked the police chief and the assistant to the city manager to see if we can find an alternative for that service. It may be some adjacent churches in the area. We're not sure yet, but we're looking into it. And we're aware of that's an issue that still needs to be dealt with.
Of course. Sure. And do we have a contract in its scope with North Carolina Central with that particular building?
We do not.
No.
Uh, Also, I would like to make brief reference to the YouTube and the Zoom services that we're using right now. We found that both of those have what's called an auto translate feature that can address Spanish. And so we're going to try to do some trial runs on that just to make sure that it's doing what we believe it will do. And so hopefully we'll have that in place and available for you in the February meeting. And lastly, I'd like to announce that we are shooting to have the council retreat in February. I would like to approach this a little differently than the way we have done it in the past. My belief is that we would benefit greatly from our city attorney having the very first meeting with you in order to help explain the government process and how we might best be able to approach this and work well together and hopefully make it an even better process than what we have now. As a second meeting, I would like to propose that the finance director and I talk to you even before the budget is prepared to try to give you some idea of what our available resources are expected to be. I think that's going to help define or the resolution of the types of projects and things that we might be able to talk about and where you would like to see us go. But obviously our resources are limited. And so I'd like to shape those expectations early on, if I may. Mayor, I don't have a location in mind yet for the retreat. If there is any suggestions or consensus, I'd be happy to take that into account right now. Or if you want to think about it, email me, that works too.
I definitely don't think that we should do it here at the chamber, simply because this is where we work and a retreat means away from the workplace. I do know that Patty McAnally is open again. If we can give her a date that the library is not being used, for us to use the Farnborough room, and that wouldn't cost the city a dime.
Like that, we've been there before, and it is a nice location. Mayor, that's all I have right now.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Last week I had a meeting, a very good meeting with, city manager, Ms. Christie and Lee. Councilman Venable sat in and Mayor has sat in. And what I basically wanted to do was just start a task force of concerns and problems here in the city with the appropriate departments. And some of the things that we discussed in that 2-hour and 15-minute meeting was some of the resolutions that you're hearing now come from our city manager and Ms. Christie, dealing with potholes, dealing with Duke Energy. And thank you for the liaison with that young lady, that representative. And just different things that are going on in the city. And so I do want to thank you for that, just being on the ball with it. If I can still, my litter patrol, I know we mentioned that the individuals who pick up seasonal debris, leaves and all, may be at some point a litter crew for us. We desperately need a litter crew. We desperately need emergency litter picked up, but you know that, and I'm confident that you will put that in place for us so we can get the city cleaned up. I think the last thing that, again, that I wanted to mention to you that I'm thankful for is having maybe the relationship with the Department of Corrections or whomever, community service, to come over and do that. I'm glad to get the potholes worked on. I'm also trying to get every 2 members, each member of the ward, to do a ride around. So 2 members can ride around Ward 4, you can ride around Ward 3, and you can see what's going on in your city as well. Some things that still need to be addressed, like property. I'm now sending out letters or sending information to Ms. Christie with residents or properties with multiple cars that don't have driver's license on them, license tags on them. Yes, ma'am, and I think it's up to 2 that you can have in the driveway that must have license tags on them. It's just little things like that that we're trying to make the city a better place, both visually and as far as a place to live in. So if you will all just continue to work with us patiently, we have the vision. This is a new year, and we have some great things in store.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Attorney.
I don't have any report or anything, but like Chief Barrow, I was unable to be here in person at the last meeting, so I'll just say congratulations to the new board members, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. I have a very short, brief report. 11 successful nights of White Flag were done in December. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Kendrick Van. Thank you so much for the coordination. I'm making sure that people are not sleeping outside in the cold in our city, so I'm so grateful for that. But the community members that have leveraged that resource for us, they've been total volunteers from this community. They've cooked, they've stayed all night. They go in at 7 and they leave at 8. Thank you, Chief Barrow, for the police department coming through to make sure that people are safe. And I just wanted to say thank you for the white flag policy that was put in place on last month, which was a part of the mayor's health and wellness vision. So thank you all so much, council members. We also had 2 nights in January, and we have one tonight, which will make the 3rd night. We've had an overwhelming number of white flag nights. Generally, it's no more than 20 per year, but I can tell you right now, we're gonna go past that number. And so, Pella, thank you for your consideration with the building that you won't even impede there until the end of the year. So that lets us know that the people are good until we can figure out how we're gonna move forward. So thank you for that. Just to touch on the day trading savings club class, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for coming into the meeting. We have 11 students that are participating online, and we have 3 that come to the building. Everyone is happy. They will be done with that day trading program on January the 28th. And the council, we will recognize them next month by giving them a certificate, and we will have 1 spokesperson so that they won't come to the podium one by one. So that's 14 students that will be finished. This week is week number 4. And again, the class ends on January the 28th. Let's see. Oh, the Mayor's Alliance to End Child Hunger annual meeting is in DC, like it is every year. I will be traveling there and I will be in attendance on the 29th of this month. Thank you to Councilmember Venable for showing up on January the 1st at the Back to Eden compound, I guess I can call it. They had a leadership empowerment summit there, and we went there, and there were several people from the community. I think I called Dr. Edmonds, Sheriff Brain, a couple of others were there for a leadership summit, and they fed us dinner, and it was very nice. They have an amazing place. I don't know if anybody here has not been to Back to Eden, but I think it will be a great place for you to visit. I think that's all, because it's only been 2 weeks since the last meeting. So I think that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Councilwoman Champion.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be as brief as possible, but every time we have a meeting, I'm gonna bring it up because it's nothing was done last time. And I don't believe nothing is gonna be done this time. But you're gonna hear it every meeting I go to that we come to. Every meeting. So we talked about last time I talked about the unfounded results. In my opinion, they were unfounded. And I also want to talk about that email that the newspaper got. The 23 employees that were given the email.
Councilwoman Champion. I don't mean to cut you off, but it wasn't 23 employees.
Well,
it was a judge.
It was a
that's in
judge.
attendance.
Yes.
That didn't work for the city.
Right.
With unfounded information.
Yes.
So let's be clear.
Yes, I am.
I appreciate that.
Then there was a judge that's not a member of the council, that's not an employee. And I said before, something needs to be done about that because you talk about transparency. Let's talk about the oath that we all took. We all took an oath. Some of us remember the oath, some of us may not remember the oath. But we violated a part of that email. there apparently was at least two public record requests. One went to the radio station, and I'm just finding out about another one. So I just don't think it's right because you all censored me. And what I did was not leaning toward being criminal. But releasing that email was a misdemeanor. And I think it needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Because it was a misdemeanor. But I'm sure that the person that did it would not admit to it. But we got to be better with what we do. We talk about transparency on one side of our face, and on the other side, we could tell lies. Which one of us lying, I don't know. But we have to do better. And when we have things that goes out in the community, and people that don't have anything to do with it decide to respond to something, I want to know who gave that narrative. Was it a council member? Or was it a former employee? That's all I have to say.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Venable and seconded by Councilmember Noel. Thank you all. You have a good night.
Good job.